All right, so when we deal with functions, we usually define them or declare them, and then we invoke them when we need to run them. However, there is a way in JavaScript that lets us create a function or declare a function and invoke it at the same time, and that's using something called an immediately invoked function expression, or an IIFE for short, IIFI. I'm sorry, IIFE. And there's a few reasons why you may want to do that. One of the biggest is to avoid global scope pollution. So let me show you what I mean. If we have in our folder here, you can see I have a folder called IIFE. If I create another JavaScript file, I'm just going to call it otherscript.js. And this could be like another library that we're using, or whatever it might be. And let's say in this script we have a global variable called user, and I set that to Brad. And I'll just do a console log of the user. And of course, it's not going to show yet because I haven't linked it up to my HTML file. So let's go ahead and add that. And we can say that this is coming from some other library that we didn't even write, so that another developer created. So we'll say another script.js. If I include that, now we're seeing that Brad value, which is in this user variable. Now, let's say in our script, well, we want to have a variable called user as well. So I'm going to set const user to John. And as soon as I do that and save and it runs, I'm going to get this user has already been declared. Okay, because it was declared in the global scope of the other file, and now I'm trying to declare it in this scope as well. And there's a few ways to handle this, but one of the ways we could handle this is with an IIFE. So let's go underneath here, and I'm going to open up a set of parentheses. The syntax for an IIFE is a little strange. What we do is create an unnamed function in those parentheses, and then whatever we want to happen. So I'm going to actually bring this down into the IIFE, and then just do a console log of user. Now, after the first set of parentheses, we need to open up another set to invoke it, right? Because that's a function. We need this set of parentheses to invoke that. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and you'll see now we don't get an error. We're able to have both of these variables of user because this one here is not in the global scope. Okay, it's in the scope of the IIFE. And I could even create a function within here. Like, let's say we have a function called hello. We'll use arrow function, and we'll just do, let's say, console.log, and we'll say hello from the IIFE. Now, if I try to go outside here and execute hello, I'm going to get an error that says hello is not defined, because again, it's scoped inside of this IIFE. So I would have to run it inside here like that. Now, you can add parameters if you want. So let's say I'll just create another one down here. So remember, it's parentheses side by side. The first one has the function inside of it. So I could pass in, let's say, name, and then let's say I want to just do a console log of a string hello, and then I want to concatenate onto that the name. Now, where I pass that in is going to be right here. So I'm going to pass in a string of, let's say, Sean. Save that, and we get hello Sean. So that's adding parameters to your IIFE. Now, you can have a named IIFE, because notice these are just anonymous functions. They don't have any name associated. So if I wanted to, I could say function and then give it a name like hello, which I can do because the other hello is on a different scope. And then whatever, console log hello. But you don't really see this very much because you can't call that function outside of the IIFE, outside of that scope. You can call it within it, and that's something called a recursion. When you call a function from itself, that's recursion, and it's kind of an advanced topic, which we'll get into later, much later. And I wouldn't recommend doing it. If you run this, you're going to crash your browser, because what's going to happen is it's going to run hello, it's going to console log hello, then it's going to call it again, it's going to console log again, call it again, and it's just going to keep going until your browser crashes. It's going to cause what we call an infinite loop. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. But I wanted to just show you can create a named function. I guess the other reason you might do it is for debugging reasons. All right, so that's it for IIFEs. We'll probably get into these a little later in some projects, But in the next video, I want to give you a couple fairly easy function challenges.